Okay, here we go. We're starting. We're in the middle of Sadi Hay. We're doing officially Sif Gimel and Sif Dalet Hay. Sif Gimel was bring us back to Sif Gimel, of course, brings us back to Sadi Dalet Hay as well. And what do you say? Okay, so then he could stay on the phone until he comes. So, and really all the cases of the the next level not barnat, which are we have different genders being mixed into pariv. What do you do with the food? What do you do with the kalim, etc. So to try to do this in some level of seder, I think the easiest way to do this is to start with the halacha from Sadi Dalid Hey. From Sadi Dalid Hey, you get the diuk to Sadi Hey Gimel, which is, of course, the Taz and the Shach's Kasha that they both ask. And through that Taretz, I think we hopefully could come to clarity. So, in Sadi Dalid Hey, and again, if it's not clear, feel free to stop me and we'll try to make it clear. But in Sadi Dalid Hey, we learn about that if you're Tochav, your Kav Chalaves, into your Kedera Bisarit, so you have a Parav medium, and you're putting your wrong gender to stir that item. So what's the halacha? The halacha is if everything is a ben yaimai, then everything is aser. The kalim are aser, and the tafshil is aser. Once something becomes an einay ben yaimai, then everything seems to be okay. Everything seems to be okay. There's some levels of lechatchila. And lechatchila is that you want to eat the food pariv. You want to eat the food pariv. That's the highest level of lechatchila. And what do you do with the keli? You want to assume the keli is the Einay Ben Yamin needs Hagala. Why does an Einay Ben Yamin need Hagala? Because it's Mekabel Tam from the Ben Yamin. Makes a lot of sense. And therefore, L'chatzchila needs Hagala. So again, let's just give your regular case. You have your chicken, you have your noodles cooking on a pot. The pot was a Ben Yaimai, fleshing a pot. You didn't realize you put in your Einay Ben Yaimai spoon. You put your Einay Ben Yaimai spoon. So the food is going to be fine. The food is going to be fine, but l'chatzchila should be in parv. Should be in parv. I mean, if you're using a fleshing pot, we'll assume that you were planning on eating it with meat, okay? But l'chatzchila, because of the mix of gender, you want to, the highest level of l'chatzchila is heated parv. L'maisa, what do you do with your einay ben yaimai spoon? You want to kasher your einay ben yaimai. Fascinating. You want to kasher your einay ben yaimai spoon. The Mefarshim here all speak out. We realize this is a pretty high level of chatzchila. The pot will be fine. Which again, this is very simple math. If the pot was a ben yaimai and the spoon is an einay ben yaimai, everything makes a lot of sense. Ben yaimai is stronger, so the einay ben yaimai is giving off to the ben yaimai, and everything makes the ben yaimai is giving off to the einay ben yaimai, and everything makes a lot of sense. The Ad Yehuda speaks out the obvious nikuda that b'diavad, of course, we're not going to ask her anything, and of course, with any level of tziruf, we're going to very quickly be makel. Now the question is, why are we being machmir on the Einoi ben Yaimai? Why are you being machmir on the Einoi ben Yaimai? To not bar not. Why is this not a good old fashioned not bar not? Machmir de kasher. Why are we kashering our Einoi ben Yaimai spoon that was put into a ben Yaimai pot with a water medium? It's a good old fashioned not bar not. We really could. Let's leave that question before we go into the two terutim. This is good, very good. That's how we started. We started with we're in Sadi Dalet Hey over here. Now to put it all together, when we go to us in Sadi Hey Gimel, what do we find? We find that as soon as we have two items in the same location, we have a potential issue. Why? What's the potential issue that we find in Sadi Hey Gimel? Right, when you're mixing your kairos shel basar shehotzchu b'yerech chelaves. What's the potential issue? So we have two pshatim in Taisvis, the Ran. We know that, of course, the first pshat is what the Ramah, the Shach seem to go with, which is what? That the bliyos miyad mix and create an isser. The second sad that the kelim touch, we seem to be not as concerned with. What's the reason? What's the reason? The simple reason seems to be it's hard to explain because then what it tastes is hold, but seems to be because ein b'liya yaitse b'lei roitev, and therefore, what's the whole concern? The whole concern is that two kelim are going to mix. Shkayach, what's it going to do for us that two kelim are going to touch each other? You need to have the right of in between. And once you have the right of in between, then what happens? Then it's you're back to your not bernat. So what do you gain over here? Okay, so we go with the first teretz that the bliyos are going to mix and are going to aser. Whatever. I'm sorry. The second teretz of Taisus. Someone quoted the Taz quoted that first. Yeah. Okay, let's leave up first a second. Touching, we don't go with. The other teretz, we go with. Very good. So now, when we put these two dinim together, it comes a little bit funny because it seems that the only tzad over here to be machmir is when everything is a ben yaimai. Once it's an ein ben yaimai, then what happens? Then it seems everything is good to go. Whereas we just said that in Sadi Dalid, we just spoke out that if something's an ein ben yaimai, it still needs to be kashered. It's the same way to ask the kasher. Just basically our math doesn't add up over here. If the whole issue over here in Sadihei Gimel is because of Ben Yaimai, what does that mean? Once it's an Ein Ben Yaimai, you don't have a problem. Yet in Sadi Dalid, when it's an Ein Ben Yaimai, we still have a problem. So what's the issue? Again, I'm not asking a Chadish. The Taz and the Shach both speak this out. The Shach says, we'll start with the Shach there, it's a little bit easier to understand. He says, because over here in Sadihei Gimel, we're talking about washing dishes. And washing dishes, the water is being thrown out. You're not cooking, you're washing. What exactly does the Shach mean? We'll get back to in a second. The Taz says that the reason why you had a kasher, your Einoi Ben Yoimei spoon, was why? Maris Ayin. Very good, Maris Ayin. Now this Maris Ayin, what does anyone understand this Maris Ayin? What's the Maris Ayin? What's the Maris Ayin? Yeah? The what? What's the Maris Ayin? That's not Maris Ayin, that's Xer you just made. That's not, that what? That what? Oh, very good, very good. That's the Maris Ayin. The Pri Megadim on the Taz explains that what's the Maris Ayin? It's sort of like a Tartei de Sasri. Doesn't really make any sense. They see you taking the food and eating it like the Ben Yaimai, not the highest level. We said the highest level of Chadchila is to take the food and make it parav in ganzen. Okay, but that's, chumras like a bit chumras. The Pasha says you can eat the food with the gender of the Ben Yaimai. So you see you eating it with the Ben Yaimai, and then your Eine Ben Yaimai, you just put back in the drawer. So that Zakta Taz is the Maris Ayin. How do you get out of this Maris Ayin? Is there any way to get out of this Maris Ayin? So I mean, when you learn over here, and again, I didn't see anyone say this. I looked, yeah. Eat the food parv. Eat the food parv. So again, I did not see this in print. It sounds like a fascinating idea. What if you don't use any utensils? What if you don't use anything? You take it all out and you eat it. You eat it. That's eating a parv? What are you trying to say? Eat it with cheese? No, I'm trying to say that the issue is that you're using a milchig utensil or a fleishig utensil. That's the issue over here, right? What's the issue? The issue is that your pot was your fleishig pot. You served it with you mixed it with your Eine Ben Yomei spoon. So you're gonna eat it fleishigs. You're gonna eat it fleishigs, right? If you eat it fleishigs, what do you have to do? Dr. Taz, you got to kasher your spoon. Yeah? I'm getting a lot of blank face. I'm not sure why. Oh, really? What if I throw out the food? Oh, because we saw over here, what's the shach's teretz? What's the shach's teretz? The shach's teretz is that by adacha, you're throwing out the water. Therefore, the whole story doesn't start. So the pashtus is that if you're not going to eat the food, there's no Maris Ayin. The whole Maris Ayin could only start if you're doing something with the food, then your keli has a problem. So I give you a choice: either kasher your spoon or throw your water. That's pashtus going to be the halacha. The Pri Megadim speaks out that the shach is maskim to the teretz of the Taz. You sort of need the bridge to say what you're saying, because if they're arguing in two diametrically opposed ideas. You can't put them together. Pri Megadim says that they agree to each other, and already they speak out. Shabbos, you're going to be mekel v'chulu v'chulu. But l'chayr, if you throw out the food, then you have the shach, and then you don't have to kasher your spoon, which most people would prefer that, or eat a parv. Now, what does it mean eat a parv? What do you mean eat a parv? If you use the utensil, you're not eating a parv. That's the whole gezerah of the taz. I'm trying to get out of kashering the spoon. Because it's sitting in a fleshing bowl. No, who said that? No, it's not what that's not how the Pri Megadim says it. It's how the Pri Megadim says it. No. Of course they do. That's the whole Maris. That's if they don't know the gender of the pot, there's no Marisayin. The Pri Megadim says on the Taz that the vart over here is that you're eating it with the min. You're eating it with denim. Again, what I wanted to bring out is I heard Rise myself for Shimra of Palm. If you eat it with throwaway utensils, you also could save yourself over here. If you don't use what? Plastic. You saw someone quote this? I didn't see anyone quote this. What do you know? How does it melt? Oh, so I good. This is what I'm very good. This is what I wanted to bring on the table. I don't know. And I looked around in all the wonderful Kittus farm. I didn't see anyone else brings down this idea. It sounded like he wanted to give two different ideas. He said either you can eat a parv, or you can eat it with glass utensils. So that's the question. I'm putting this on the table for the Ilam. If someone could find someone who speaks this out at the Chachmas Adam. How do you? The lashon of what is it? It's Mishlei Zav. I'm sorry, I just want to give you my markum. Is Sivkat and Vav. Taz in Sivkat and Vav in the Mishlei in Sadi Dalid. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm going to leave this. You have to look at the Pri Megadim well. I'm not sure. It sounds like there might be a makim here to say that this gezerah of the maris ayin was on the kli, not on the item. That's what it sounds like. And again, the lashon is you should eat it with the min in the min's keli. So you're eating it with meat in the meat keli, and therefore it looks like this is a meat item, and therefore you have to kasher the item. That's what it sounds like. Someone could find it over here. He has a nice footnote over here that he wants to say that okay, good. Yeah, and the other Pri Megadim is in Sivkot and Taz. He says the Shach is Moses to the Taz, that it's caused a Marasayin, and therefore the Pri Megadim says that Shabbos has that we're not going to answer everything up. Good. First of all, Stam, just another Nikud they speak out. Whenever we're making L'tzarech Shabbos, what happens after Shabbos? I thought it was a cute child. We make L'tzarech Shabbos. After Shabbos, I eat the food. I mean, we don't make it. We don't start to the last time I checked. I mean, what do you mean? I don't know. On my own, I wouldn't have said it. My Supreme Megadim says it. Supreme Megadim says it, so therefore, I don't think I think one could be megal. I just found that to be a fascinating kuda. There's a Yad Yehuda over here that is pretty liberal, and good. Let's move on. Good. That's number one. That's how we put together these two sifim. Now there's two more details that we need to know over here. Detail number one is a fascinating Chachmas Adam, that when we learned the Shita, what does it mean, Ben Yoima, Ina Ben Yoima, and we learned the Shita of some say it's Rashi, some say it's Rabbeinu Tam, of Alinas Laila. So B'Shaita, we thought that it's a shtickle nidcha Shita, and we never really heard of people that are mitzarefit. Over here, the Chachmas Adam is mitzaref such a Shita. And he says that if the only reason it was Ben Yaimai is because of a linas laila, is because of within 24 hours, but there was linas laila in between. Chasadam, the marsham, they are willing to be mekel. They're willing to be mekel. Fascinating. Okay, one more. What? Linas laila. Night means a nighttime. The night passed by. Oh, how much? Yeah, I don't know. Good kasha. Good kasha. I don't know. Good question. Good question. Good question. Good question. So now, I don't know what's going on here. One more important taz over here is that what's the issue with putting the item into the other plate? We said that if you're iruyit, now that's part A. Part B is if you're iruyit into the other gender, what's the halacha? Halacha is its problem. Why is it a problem? Says the Taz, because of nitzuk chibur. An interesting Taz. The Taz actually doesn't say nitzuk chibur. If you're wondering, the Taz never said those words. Taz Simchat in Gimel says that v'emira mikli rish al basar al kli cholav dinoi kikli rishain. If you pour from basar to chalav, gets the din of the original kili. V'oiser imhu ben yoimai. Why does it aser? So the Taz comes along and says, why is it asering? It's a classical not bar not. So the Taz explains that what's going on over here is now, what does that mean? That we view the kiluach, the stream, as if it's in the other upper guy. Says the Pri Megadim, what that means is nitzuk chibur. Nitzuk chibur is a concept we find more particularly by Tumah V'Taira. We find this by Yahin Nesech. We find nitzuk chibur. What it means is that things travel upstream. Is that when I pour, we assume that the bottom and the top are connected, and therefore it's going to be a problem because it's a ben yaimai. Because it's a ben yaimai, therefore if nitzuk chibur, it's going to be a problem. Does the Shach agree with this? Does the Shach agree with this? So you say, well, the Shach doesn't say anything over here. So there's the Shach. The Shach, way back in Sifkot and Hay. Shach back in Sifkot and Hay weighs in on this. The Shach in Sifkot and Hay says, he argues with the Taz, and he says, V'chol ze loy shayech bi'irui. Says the Taz, that meaning that the whole issue is that when the two combine together, that's when we say that we have this issue. But if you're pouring from one to the next, then you're not going to have the problem. This is the Ran and Taisus, that you're not going to have what? You're not going to have a mixed gender party because it can happen simultaneously via nitzuk chibur. Which what? Oh, the Taz. The Pri Megadim says on the Taz that he only wanted to answer the bottom one. That's what the Pri Megadim says. The Shach is learning. Shach is arguing on the whole thing. The Shach is saying that via iroi, you're not going to have any problem. L'maisel Aruch HaShulchan paskins with the Shach. Aruch HaShulchan says that b'makom seirech one could be mekel Shach Sivkot and Hay. Shach Sivkot and Hay says Chozel lo shayich be'irui, and it sort of just shows you how far do you take this svara that when you have two genders that converge in one utensil, that we say that it creates an isser on the spot. You just see how far the Taz is learning that when I'm pouring something, the connection between the two, the beliyos are gonna sort of meet in the stream, whatever that means, and it's gonna be a problem. The Shach disagrees with this case. So now, so okay, that's first of all, that's tam. If you're pouring from A into B, do you have to be concerned? Obviously, you don't do it lechatchila, but the Shach says that's not going to create, it's not going to create an issue. Now, based off of this, l'chayra, we could say the following. And I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll tell you the case. When you have your spaghetti that was made in your fleischiga pot. Spaghetti was made into your fleischiga pot. So what do we say? We said, are you allowed to take that spaghetti and you're allowed to pour it directly into your milchiga bowl? The answer is no. Why is the answer no? Because of what we just said. We just said that we're machmir on irui. And what's the reason? The reason is because if everything's a ben yoimai, obviously, if anything's an ain't a ben yoimai, you don't have a problem. But if everything's a ben yoimai, then what happens? We said everything's going to meet, then we're going to have an issue. No cheese, just the plate itself. We're not talking about the actual gender. We're talking about not over here. Everything's a ben yoimai. We're talking about the same case of Sadi in the Ramah of when we said when you're ira mikli risha shel basar al kli chalav, that it's a problem that it's dina kikli risha va'oiser imu ben yoimai. The Taz says why does it aser because of nitzah chibur, and the aser is only the bottom, but it aser is nonetheless. The Shach we're pointing out doesn't necessarily agree with that svara. So the question is again lechatchila we're not going to do it. The question is it going to aser b'di'evid? Is it going to aser b'di'evid? So what's an afkamina going to be? What happens when you have those leftover spaghetti? Okay, so your spaghetti's in your fridge, and it was made in a ben yoimai fleishiga pot. Now, to put cheese in it, that we of course don't do. But now, what about heating it up in a milchiga ben yoimai pot? Heating it up in a milchiga ben yoimai pot. What would we say? So I think we would have all thought it's an issue because everything here is a ben yoimai, and you have noodles with ben yoimai's fleishiks. You have a pot of ben yoimai milchiks, and it's a problem. So again, I'm just quoting here. A Reisman made a cheshbin. He didn't have a source for this. I would love a source. I try to look around. Maybe I found something. I'm not sure. He wanted to tie in a very interesting svara. It's really the Shach and Taz. Why is the Shach disagreeing with the Taz on this nitzach chibur? Because the Shach holds that in the nitzuk, it doesn't really create an issue. But what's the whole potential issue over here? The potential issue is that the two bliyos together are going to mix, and if the two bliyos together mix, what happens? You create a problem. 1 second. The bliya is a week old now. You don't have your fleishiga bliya here anymore. Oh, very good. But you don't have your ben yemeli. The whole issue was that when the two come in the pot at the same time, I have an alive fleishiga bliya, I have an alive milchiga bliya. Bishas Maisa, they mix, even though it's an aparnat, even though there should be no issue, because it's via this water medium. But Lamaisa, the Chiddush is the Taisus, the Ran, the whole shmooze, because it takes time to be Niklash, and therefore it didn't have that time, so it answers miyad. Givaldik. But now, if the noodles were made in your fleishik pot last week, it doesn't have that anymore. There's no miyad dika isser that could happen. So therefore, you don't have this problem. And he wanted to say that because the Shach teaches us over here that even by Iroi he's willing to be Mekel. What does that mean? That means the Shach learned that when you mix the two together simultaneously, then the not barnat Yisura at the moment's created. But if it's not at the moment, but rather you're pouring A into B, then Zok the Shach, he argues. What? I bother you to get some liquid. Thank you. Dim ira mikli risha shel basar al shel chalav mutter. He's willing to be mekel. And then he continues and he says, he says the minhag is not this way, but efsin meruba oileisa tzayrech yesh lismaich Allah. God bless you. So therefore, he wanted to taina that l'chayra, once the first item cools off, you can even warm it up in a ben yoimai absegential. Is that a food cause pogum? That's what you're saying? I don't know if you, I don't want to use. Oh. Slow. It's not slow. Even if I don't know if it's a varnam pogum, because here we have a different issue. Because here everything is happening in the not bar not stage, which we know we're not putting actual milk in. It's all blias. And we know that Ba'atzem, the not bar not can't create any issues. So I don't know if your prima godem is a raya. Your prima godem is clearing klape actual opposite genders. Do we say that it's pogum to the effect that now if milk goes on, it's going to be an issue or not? That's a different shayla. Here we're discussing klape, another knot. I'm not telling you to put cheese on it. I'm telling you, I'm warming up my noodles in a milchik pot. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a noising time of milchiks into a noising time of fleishiks, which we all know, but the evidence, of course, is going to be mutter. We're handling the level of lechatchila, but he wants to tell you that the feel the shach, that even in the nitza chiber stage, he's not machmir, because what's the lumdus of the shach? It just doesn't make any sense. The only time we can say the two combine is if they combine in a pot properly. But if they combine in a nitzuk, it can't create an isser. He wants the taina that once it cools off, there'll be no problem. There'll be no problem. Oh, he says this. Excuse me. I should probably finish reading my own notes. Zachach Husadim. Apparently says. I should have finished. I don't know. Yeah. Once it cools off. Yeah. 100%. 100%. That's something else. This is something else. Yeah, this is not the thing. Again, this is in the not stage. Chacham Sadim apparently says on Sif Aleph. On Sif Aleph, I don't have the Chacham Sadim. I might have every other sefer here. I don't have the Chacham Sadim. No, in the beginning of Sadiyeh. I'm saying in the beginning over here. He says that there's only an Isser to pour directly, but to read heat it would be mutter. Again, you definitely can be Saimech. The question, I just think it brings out the lumdis of how this Isser happens. Okay, that's really Sif Gimel. That's really wraps up the entirety of Sif Gimel. Now we're going to go into Sif Dalet. Before we go to Sif Dalet, I'm going to mention that you just have to play out. There's a million variations in a million cases. A lot of these farms do a beautiful job. I had a tzad just to play out a lot of cases. I just think these are things you just have to compute in your brain. You just got to do the math. He has a lot of cases. Maybe I'll just speak out one case that he has over here before we move out there. We'll speak out one case, which really brings out everything we're talking about. I think that's a good idea. And then we'll go into Sif Daled, which is Pogum. But maybe this is going to be disappointing. We're not going to be going out of Saif into Pogum purely for the reason it's going to come back in Kuf Beis again, and therefore, the Starbucks hack and all of that stuff, we're going to wait a little bit on. But let's over here. He asked the following child. Ready? Let's listen carefully. Hoitzi tavshel parva. Okay. So we have Meichelim Reitev. Let's call it noodles. Al yedei kaf bisaret mikli rishain cham kishir yad display. You just made your noodles in a pot and you take them out with a fleishiga spoon. Ma dine shalaichel shabekaf. What's the story with that which is in your spoon, your fleishiga spoon of noodles? And what's the story with the food left in the pot? And what's the story with the pot? Again, your food is pariv, fleishiga spoon. So he says, let's go through. Oh, he didn't mention anything about the pot. Well, he's gonna, I believe he's going to. He's talking about a pariv pot. He's making it easy, so you don't have to talk about a mixed gender over here. He wants to make it easier. Yeah. So first of all, Stam, we always know that if there's shishim, nothing starts. Okay, good. If there's shishim, nothing starts. Now, if the spoon is not a ben yoimai, so then what's the story? Then what? What do you mean by nothing? What does mutter mean? It's not a nida. It's parif. Yeah, it's parif. Very good. Mutter la'arva, you can mix it with even milk. No, right, even cheese. Good. Even cheese. Very good. Next, if the spoon is a ben yaimai, and so if you have shishim, you have shishim. Good. If you don't have shishim, then what's the story? First of all, you only dan shishim. Okay, that's a different story. We have to learn shishim. How much do we dan shishim if the spoon goes in? V'chulu. But let's say it's a ben yaimai and you do not have shishim, which often, by the way, no. But how do you properly dan of shishim? We're gonna have to see. But lemaisa, often you can have shishim. Just it's a good thing to realize. Spoons aren't that big and pots are often large. Someone's gonna say, no, my pot is small. Okay, I hear, but in a large pot. So if it's a ben yaimai and there's not shishim, then what's the halacha? You're allowed to put cheese in these noodles. Lechatzchila not. Why not? Very good. But Can you put it into a kli, into the milchig kli? Mustard is yes. Why?
Why let it put it into
No. You take with a ben yoimei fleshig spoon, and you want to put it into a milchig kli.
because here we're so much on so far that to not right now is mostly my addition.
Why? Why all of a sudden here are we being samech to put in the opposite kli? I mean, no one, everyone just said like kacha. No one really gave a reason. I'm just pointing out. It's okay.
You will eat it.
Someone just explain what you mean. What do you? Why is they do? Saying here we're going to be samech on the Shulchan Aruch. That's what you're saying. Good. Very good. Very good. Next. Very good. B'diavad, let's say you put milk into these noodles, Madinai. Mutter. Why is it mutter? Because it's mutter. Because it's a nap or not. Very good. Obviously, it's davar charif. Stay tuned. Next case. What about? Oh, wow. Look at this one. He didn't say anything. Okay, same thing. Okay, weiter. That was all in the pot. He wants to say, but the food in the spoon, if the spoon is a ben yaimai, it's the same thing. You're not allowed to mix it. Okay, no, he didn't change anything. What about the pot? What's the deal with the pot? Is the pot par if the pot needs to be kashered? No shishim. You mix it with a fleshig spoon? Ben yaimai? No, the pot is parif. Parif means not fleshig, yes. What's fine? What do you want to say? So he argues with you. I'm just going to tell you his Mar Makam. I understand what you're saying. He wants to taina that the pot is parif. And even if you mix with a spoon that's a ben yoimai, and he explains as follows. You just said that you should use the pot with fleshiks. You just said, you quoted me a shachli, choose the fleshiks. And he's saying the pot is parif. A pariv, slow. A pariv pot with water that you mixed with a fleshiga ben yoimai spoon.
Let's say tomorrow you decide you want to use this pot for a certain gender. Only use it. Should not make it.
So he's saying again that the pot is perfectly parif, not like you're saying. Right. He explains. I'll tell you why. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I didn't do the math. I'm just going to read you what he says. It's a wonderful sefer of a yid named Mara Chaim. Yid in Lakewood. He says, let's just look at his raya. If I forget who he is, let's look at his raya. Happens to be a cousin of mine. I don't know if I've ever met him in my life, but sounds like a wonderful yid. Even if you mix it with a spoon of ben yaimai, misham shafilu v'yimash machminu b'simsad yesef beis shtam yitzadei b'shlot tzich choshev k'tam rishain k'makam b'ayfen zeh shabaliyos avru derech beis kelim v'gam yish gimel noisin tam kosav hashach sadi beis tezvav kulyama nechshav nat bar nat. So he wants the taina is the reason why it's not the shach that you're saying is because over here everyone will agree there's three nice tam. And the shach, it's the same shach says kol says only by beis nice tam. But by gimel nice tam is not going to happen. I don't know. Still looking at the shach. That's what he wants to taina. Are you allowed to do this lichatzchila? But anyways, that was good. Let's move on. Let's tell it. Again, these are cases. You just got to play out the cases. These are a lot of fun. Let's move on. Yeah, let's do Sif Dalid, and we'll talk a little bit about same cases. So in Sif Dalid, says the Machaber Yerli Shem Naso Efer B'Mayim Chaim Shabiyeri Kodim Shenichak Deres B'Seicha. You put Efer into the pot. What's the halacha? Says the Mechaber Afal Pisha Shuman Davuk Behen Mutter Da'idei Efer Hunoisin Tam Lifika. Comes along the Taz, and the Taz is very violent over here. And the Taz says, I don't understand. Are you telling me that if you put treif, chilev, that has some efer mixed into it, you're gonna have a problem? That's the Taz's issue over here, because he wants to say that the efer should make the treif not treif. If you're telling me that you put in the efer that doesn't allow the bliyos to mix, so too in that case. It's Sarchin Razu. He says El and Peizayin Kosar Ramah, Klios in Mayim Lachlivus Araish, and they mix with Basar B'chalav. Vikim Denis in Tam Lev in Shem Eser, Ein Shema Iser Basar B'chalav L'Gamri. Says Va'ayin Matzatz different Marshal and the Maril. That what a kid came and he said what fell into the Bayris was made from Chaylev, the Teicha Kedera, the soap from Chaylev. V'amar She'in Lam and Atinik Mashma. That if you know that the Bayris, the Sabon, the soap of Chaylev with Afer fell in, Asar Iser HaBayris. It's made from Afer, and it's nice in Tam Lefgam. The Taz ends off, Sarach Ian Lamaisa. What does the Shach say? The Shach mimics these words, and the Shach, well, not exactly, you're correct. Shach in Chav Aleph comes along and he says, it mimics in the fact that he seemingly is arguing on the Machaber. Timzel and Nimsab Shampaisek, none of the Achreinim, none of the Beis Yosef. Adrabah, there's no way to do Hagala with a Ben Yaimai, etc., etc., etc. So that's really the end of the Sif over here. And the question is, how does this translate to Heintige soaps? Meaning, and with the translation to our soaps nowadays, we have to ask ourselves a question that we have like a funny thing happening. We have a Machaber that's a Mekel, and we have a Shach and Taz that are violently Machmir, that they don't want to understand. There's no Ramah. Okay. The Shach and Taz both want to say that they don't understand what's this whole Efer Heter. Then you should be able to kasher ben yoimais. What's going on with the case of the soap falling in, and yeah, that's the problem over here. So, as has been mentioned, this is discussed. Who's this discussed by? Who? That's a good answer. So there's a Chacham Svi, there's a Mata Yonason, there's a Yad Ephraim, there's a Pri Megadim, this is a Machsadik, of course, and there's a Chazonish. All of the above. So we're going to go backwards. Just because I think it's easier to understand. Is because when you go through the lens of the Chazonish, it sort of flips the whole sugya on its head. Because I think if we were to think about this objectively, which I know is very difficult in an emotional world to think about things objectively, but if we were to think about it objectively, I think the thought process would go as follows. We would learn a Sif. Sif says Efer saves the day. Shach and Taz say they don't understand this whole thing. Okay, Shach and Taz, Machaber. Okay, we're not sure what to do with it. And then we would say, what about soap? What about soap? So probably the next suggestion would be soap. Is soap as bad as Afer? Afer sounds pretty horrible. Maybe you want to tell me bleach. Maybe you want to tell me pneumonia. Maybe you want to tell me like horror ammonia. Maybe you want to tell me horrible items. Then maybe. But it's a simple soap. I think that's what we would think. But now the Chazon Ish has such an incredible outlook. What does Afer do? What does Afer do? And with this, he flips the whole sugya on its head. And the Chazon Ish says, what does Afer do? Afer is a cleaning agent. And I read, he says, the Shach asks, the Dibra Bey says, Afer Pogum and Cain, Efshal Hagel ben Yoima, you should be able to be Magel. V'rotza Loimar. Tizelo Kasha Shiyari Dover Mara Paiseles Amayim Shtias Adam. Tizeh Yikalkal as a Kedera, V'hatavshel Shiyibashel Achach V'deres Yifsal Adam. And this is not the Hagol that the Torah talks about. Aval Efer Einoi Pogim Esa Kedera. Adirabba Minake Oisai. Incredible. Says the Chazon Ish, what happens if you pour soap into your coffee? But
you might die.
They say it's dangerous. They say it's dangerous. Who's the theys? Did anyone try it? So Lamaisa.
You could have a nice vanilla flavor soap.
So let's get there. Lamaisa says the Chazon Ish, Afer is an incredible agent. That Afer cleans, but does not impart a bad taste. Einoi Poikim Esakadera. Incredible cleaning agent called Afer. And therefore, says the Chazon Ish, that's the whole machlekes over here. The pot, the dish. Yeah? No, he wants to say that it leaves nothing behind. Leaves nothing behind.
Cook eggs tomorrow, it doesn't taste
The pot, even, it sounds like he even wants to talk about the food. Sounds like he wants to even say, it doesn't really make a difference. The chilik is onto the soap. What do you mean the opposite? Again. From this Chazon Ish, everyone wants to be machalik and say, again, we could argue mitzias. I'll just tell you what the Olam wants to taina, and then we could argue. I don't have a problem. Like I told you, I think tough soap is yummy. You all want to say otherwise, it's fine. But I'll just tell you what they say based on the Chazon Ish. They want to say that the Chazon Ish is discussing that Afer cleans, but it doesn't ruin. Masha'inkin, our soaps, if you put our soaps into food, it will destroy the food. That's what he wants. That's what they want to taina, and therefore they want to say that ironically our soaps are going to be better. Bleach for sure. Let's just use bleach for a moment. Bleach for sure is going to be even better than the. It's going to be even better than the Afer. And he wants to say that when the Shach and the Taz are being machmer, that's only by Afer. That's dafka by Afer. But when it comes to other cleaning agents, then they want to say that he's going to be, they're going to be maskim to be mekel. And this is, of course, without going involved into the particulars. No, you disagree? Okay, it's okay. But this is what all the, what? Okay, well, we'll look at, I'll be honest, I did not go through, there's two different Chazon Ishes, the ball very, very lengthy. I did not go through them, not even close to properly. So I'm not, this is what they want to tell you. And based on, again, there's $1 million question you have to ask. We could ask it from 2024 if you want, before asking it from Shulchan Aruch. We all know that the whole Kashrus agency is built on Davar Pogum. Everything that they're doing is, when the Shach screamed, you should be able to be Kasher Ben Yoimais, and you can't. Guess what? You know what the Kashrus agencies are all doing? Kashering Ben Yoimais. I don't understand what they're arguing on a Shach. No, they're clearly not arguing on a Shach. They're saying the Shach is not talking about this case. The Shach is only talking about a case of Afer, and they want to say that when they come in and they put bleach into the item, it's going to change it. There's another Nikuda over here, but this is that's number one. That's number one. Number two is when it comes to being mechalik between cleaning with soap and kashering with soap, there's a very, very big nafkamina, and that's how you get out of belia. We never assume, never, because then everything would be a kashering. We never assume all bliyas come out. Stam. We always are chayshish that there's some bliyas left behind after you cook in a dish. If not, every time you wash something out, it should be its own kashering agents. And we don't do that. We assume that not all the bliyas come out. Unless you do a proper kashering. If you do a proper kashering, which means it's in a rolling boil and it sits inside, that's the only time we assume that all the bliyos are pulled out. So therefore, if you actually kasher with bleach, with these items, then we're going to say, okay, it's going to pull out all the bliyos. However, if you just wash something with bleach and something, would one suggest, 1 second, that when I wash my plate, not my plate, my pot with soap, now the pot just was kashered? No one suggests that, right? Why not? Why not? It's boiling hot water you're using. Your dishwasher, boiling hot water, one day we'll get to. Why not? The answer is because we only assume all bleeds come out of kasher, yes?
In a simple way, all that Pogum does is affect something in the pot, doesn't affect the pot itself. So when the bleeds are coming into the pot, in order to work out the bleeds that come into the pot, you're dividing those bleeds, it's fine. But it can't go into the walls of the bleeding in the pot. And that's basically it.
Unless you're kashering.
Because the kashering is not going into the walls.
Of course it is.
Out, go back in.
Both. That's a second kashering. By kashering, we assume everything goes in also. Of course. How else do you kashering the pot? How else do you kashering the pot? Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's only if all the bliyas come out, which only happens by kashering. So we're not.
That's why
I don't understand.
No,
I'm not.
Does go back in. You just already talked
I'm not sure what we're arguing about. I think we're saying the same thing in different words. Yeah, what do you want to say?
saying that let's see, the reason why you can't kasher, the reason why you can't just put soap in your dishwasher that's going to kasher the cleat.
Yeah.
Then you need the soap to go into the cleat.
Yeah.
The soap can't go into the cleat and kasher. How do you know? Because when you make the food next time, you taste soap. All that happens is
I think it's right.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't answer the question. So why don't we say the same thing by a dishwasher? Say that the bleeds come out and therefore it's no problem.
Because it's not the bleeds is not 225. The bleeds aren't coming out. You need the Pogum to go in.
I understand the chlik that you're making. What, you making a chlik in temperature? It is temperature. I wash my dish with boiling hot water. Boiling hot water. We still don't say that everything came out. Why not? If I wash my dish, I put on rubber gloves. I take the urn, I open it up on my pot, and I wash it out. And I clean the pot. I just kasher the pot. Why not? Right. Yes. Right. Right. Meaning, because not everything comes out. We're saying the same thing. We're just that's the same.
Maybe trying to say Pogum never goes into the soap never ends up in the walls of the pot. No matter what you put bleach.
That's a shayla how a gullah works. Seder. Again, I understand. That's a mechanical shayla how you view hagala and how you view the bliyas. Seder. Again, let me just make it clear. Not understand. But let me make it clear. I was just making one nikuda. Is that hagala versus washing? There's one simple chilik. Is that the bliyas come fully out. I don't care what's inside. I want to make sure there's no bliya left inside. Good. If that's clear, then we are good to go. Now, lemaisa just we talk about kashering. First of all, bleach. What's the boiling point of bleach? Right. The boiling point of bleach is lower than water. This is one of the big tainas on the kashering agencies. Why? Because when they kasher with bleach, the bleach boils out very, very fast. And the only way that it works if you continuously add in bleach. Lemaisa, this is one of the reasons why the more from kashrus agencies will not do what other ones will do. They always said over, whether this is still the thing to say over or not, I don't know. They always said over that the Akudah convention takes the hotel a day early, even though it's very costly, because they won't kasher ben yoim, even with Felicia. The reason is, for this reason, is that it doesn't really work so well, and therefore they always make sure to give it 24 hours, and then kasher. Lamaisa, to basically conclude, the Yad Ephraim over here, if you just want to know where it is, when he quotes the Dvar Shmuel in this sea of Yad Ephraim, when he quotes the Dvar Shmuel, he says that he basically just makes these chalukim that we're talking about. To read the one line, he continues and he says, Efshar shein koyach tam plitas ha'efer b'mayim te'likones l'toy kelim. That the davar pogum doesn't have the koyach to go into the keli. Lifkoim taima marisha l'shvach, and it doesn't have the ability to fully purge from the inside. That's how Davar Shmuel says it. The Mati Yonasan says a very similar vart over here on the page that we're discussing. The Mati Yonasan on it's on. I know mine is on the Shulchan Aruch. I don't know where everyone else's is. Mine's on the first words of the Shulchan Aruch. He quotes and he says, Al Karchach, Sarchlem, that takes his Maksham Ha Taira, Sifsa Lahagu Klimidim Loskar, the Sarach leads to Davar Apogam, Imkain Hecha Gilu, yes, the Kasha, Vchem Ashkas Bichadash, or the Yishlaim with Izim Zechzav Zara, Hilson Etan of Gam Motter, Vachwa Shechra, and he continues and he says, have the Chich, the Akach Suile, the Mutter, Tim Loikin Asule, the Rav, Chatikaz and Asnavela, Talidelo Mani Ephraim, Kim Muchtan is Tam of Gam is going to be Mutter. So he's making. It's not as mufresh as they say it is. Okay, I guess you have to learn it properly. They quote the Mati Yonasan. I don't know that he's saying the same vart as the the chilik between Afer and other things. Yeah, we have to look at it properly. Okay, Lamaisa, what comes out of here is, and with this we conclude, is that again, definitely these two chazanishes, certainly you can learn it properly, but what they want to take from these two chazanishes, one is in Chav Gimel and one is in Kuf Chav Beis.
Same exact, same thing.
Okay. What they want to take out of the chazanish is that the chilik between Afer and other items, which will be where the point of beginning is, because if not, you have a big problem between the Shachtaz and the Mechaber, which I don't believe we want that. It's much easier to say that the Shachtaz are only arguing on the Mechaber within the Mechaber's case, but if we have a different case, then everyone will be maskim. Then we'll be able to say potentially that there will be Pogum agents that will help the story. Of course, this does not necessarily help for dishwashers and whatnot, because you still have to deal with the practicalities, whether there are rinse cycles, etc., etc. We'll conclude just lamaisa. So what happens? It's great after the whole sugya of washing dishes. It sounds very complicated. So you open up a classical. I'm just going to use him because he breaks into three simple shadows. I think one of the others farm made it even easier. I think Ray Wiesenfeld made it even easier. Just basically said it's all mutter. But yeah, okay, so they're good. So he doesn't have anything. Look what he says over here. Number one. Classical case, you look into your sink or you look onto the drying rack and what's there? Milchig and fleshig items. The answer is Mikra din, you do not have to be magil anything. However, if you know that number one, the water was yad seladis, which is not normal unless you're wearing gloves. But my grandmother, she's able to. Okay, say it. Number two is, I'll say the second. Number two is you didn't use a sponge that was muluchlach with basar, which, okay. And number three, there was no soap. That's going to be the case. The parting line is you call up the Rav and you say, I found the whatever and the whatever. The parting line was, he says, were you wearing gloves while you wash your dishes? The person asking the shayla usually wants to know, why is the Rav getting involved in how I wash my dishes? And they're like, no, we don't use gloves and wash. This is okay, it's all fine, because you just got out of one of the issues. It's just trying to make it that the water's not yad tzalezis by. The other one is going to be, was your mamish washing it with balsar? Because then if you're washing it with a sponge with balsar, then coming out of the stream of boiling hot water, if you were wearing gloves, then the two could potentially have a shidduch, and you have to have that there's no soap. Who does he quote in the bottom? These are Heintiga. He says over here, those three ideas he quotes from Rabbi Belsky and Rabbi Felder. I'm sorry? Mm-hmm. You need all three. You need all three to mess you up. You need all three to mess you up. Once you can have soap in your sponge, then it's going to be Pogum. It's not going to allow the blia to go in. It's going to block the blia. Next case. The next case, he goes in a dishwasher, which I'm going to... we're going to abstain because it's a very complicated shayla. I'll just tell you. He says you find the wrong item in the dishwasher. He wants you to be machshir that item. Just that item, not the rest of them, which is an interesting, yeah, very good. The item should make sure to look at their mamakimis properly. The next case, he says, let's say you find it in the after the washing. I said the two cases. Meaning the first case he says as you're washing. He says if you find it after you're washing it, he says you don't have to be worried. You don't have to be worried. And then he says, what if you find it in the drawer? Then everything is mutter. Why is everything mutter? Because then you have additional chashashis. What are the additional svaris to be makel? Meaning because you also have the svar of this not is in a ben yom. That maybe you don't know when things were used with each other. If you washed them all together, then we're assuming that everything is a ben yom that you're washing together. Then we need these three svaras to save the day. Which someone might say, Rabbi, just because we're sitting in my sink and washing it doesn't mean I used it that day. Maybe my spoon was sitting in my sink since yesterday, and therefore the what? Means they don't have that star. So he mentions that. Some of the stars want to point out that if you know for sure that it was used within Ben Yoma, then you go back to the original three svaris that V'ayid, I'll just tell you. No, it's the same thing. He just Rabbi Goldberg's pointing out that if it's not, usually we have an extra concern we have an extra head turn in a drawer that it's Ein Ben Yoma. You want to say mechatesi, maybe someone says everything is washed every day. Say, then it goes back to saying on a drawer you have another heter. 1 second, I'm sorry. What? That what? Again, but not if you know for sure it was used. That's the problem. No. Not a suffix if you know it was used. That's the chalik. Oh, you're saying something else. You're saying davar sheishlo matirin. You're saying davar sheishlo matirin. That's what you're saying. So the question is, what is the prima gun? The question is, so that's called it's davar sheishlo matirin. If you don't know what spoon was washed, you're saying if I have a drawer of 10 items and you know which one is washed, can I be makel saying that maybe this one or this one was not? That's a different story. But then you have the problem with davar sheishlo matirin, shalar sigya, abisiyat shemaya. We'll get back to. And Emirza Hashem, Davar Charid.